Attention Austin musicians and music industry professionals. Are you having a difficult time navigating these waters, especially after the coronavirus and all the clubs have been closed? You don't know what to do? Well, let me tell you about a great resource for you. That's the Austin Music Foundation. Austin Music Foundation provides ongoing artist development services through its educational panels, one-on-one consultations, and online resources. Now listen, gang, all of their stuff has moved online. They're doing all their stuff virtually. All the consultations are done virtually, and it's all free to you musicians and music industry professionals. Just go to austinmusicfoundation.org to learn more. Whether you need personalized career guidance and mentoring, tools and resources to help you succeed, opportunity, a pipeline to the local music industry, or all of the above, Austin Music Foundation has you covered. That's austinmusicfoundation.org. Let's get down. Gang, we all know Spotify has become the ultimate destination app for music lovers. I have an account and I love it. I find new music by following Tastemaker playlists, and I make my own playlist that I share featuring music from guests that have been on the show. Well, did you know that aside from all of that great music on Spotify, all of your favorite podcasts are available on Spotify, including How Did I Get Here? That's right, just go to Spotify.com or download the app from your app store, and don't forget to follow How Did I Get Here? That's Spotify, millions of songs and thousands of podcasts. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a great week, a good week at least. Did you guys tune in to the Democratic National Convention? Did you watch that virtual insanity? It was good, man. I saw some very inspiring speeches by some people. I thought Michelle Obama was really... Her speech was very moving, and like that Bernie Sanders guy, he was good. I'm doing this a couple days before it comes out, so I've not seen Kamala Harris or Joe Biden's speeches yet. Neither have you. But by the time you're listening to this, maybe we all have, and maybe we enjoyed them. What the fuck is going to happen in November? That's the question. Are you registered to vote? Have you made sure that you're registered to vote? We're all home. We all got some time on our hands. Make sure you're registered to vote. Like, get out there and do that. Whatever it is you have to do it. Fill out the card or fill it out online. Make sure that you're ready, because some stuff's got to change, and it can all be done through voting. Also, I'm going to encourage all you guys, once we're on this voting thing, look on the down ballot, man. See who's running your neighborhood. Who's your city councilman? Who's your judge? These are all people who affect what's going on around you. And if we want to eliminate systemic racism, then we need to get into the system and elect people into the system that are going to help us change things. Okay? So register to vote. Look at your local people. See what's going on. We all know what Joe Biden's about, and we know if you're undecided between Joe Biden and Donald Trump at this point, I can't help you. But there are people in your neighborhood. There are people that run your city. There are things like that we should be getting involved in, making these choices, because these directly affect us as citizens. All right? So you want to affect change? Get out there and vote. Get informed and get out there and vote. That's what you got to do. All right? Hey, gang, listen, when you're out there checking out stuff, don't forget, I want to remind you guys, I'm doing this over the next couple of weeks to remind you guys that engagement is our currency. For me to be able to secure advertisement for this show, I not only have to have people that listen to the show, I have to have people that engage with the show. So I'd like to start by, if you haven't liked our Facebook page, How Did I Get Here? Get over there and like it. Yeah, like it. And if you're a fan of any shows that come out, like the show. Leave a comment about the show. Share the show. Help us spread the word. If you like the show, let people know. All the stuff I'm saying is rhyming, isn't it? What's wrong with me? Guys, I have a great show for you today. Miss Mack is on the show, from Miss Mack and the Daddies. Now, I don't know if you know her yet. I hadn't really heard of her. My friend James Robinson turned me on to her. I went to their Facebook page and checked out a lot of their videos and saw her live stuff and talked to her on the phone one day and was like, hey, come on the show. They're recording music. It's kind of been stunted a little bit because of this coronavirus and people having to to socially distance. They can't really get together in the studio and finish this up right away, but she's doing the best she can. You can find her on Instagram and on Facebook at Mack Daddy Music. All right, Miss Mack is fantastic, man. She basically, this is her credo is to expose people to the joyful and positive aspects of her existence as a black woman, and that's exactly what she's doing. I really enjoyed my conversation with Miss Mack. I learned a lot about her, and she's a very cool woman, and she's a very, very talented woman, man. She jumped into singing just a few years ago. Started a band and's been out there playing and doing all kinds of shows. She got to play at the Moody Theater. I can't remember who it was that she was opening for, but she was opening for someone big. It was crazy. Anyway, we have a fantastic conversation, and I think you're going to like her as much as I did by the end of the conversation. So please enjoy me and Miss Mack talking about life. Let's get down. The network's coming down on you.
Yeah, only because we're doing a thing. You know,
yeah,
if I were trying to like watch some YouTube video, it would be fine.
How are you holding up these days, Miss Mack?
I'm okay. You know, I'm not in the best health emotionally, as you can imagine. The music is a huge release, so I've maintained a very close relationship with my therapist during this time. The band still meets every week via Zoom.
Yeah.
This is kind of our new normal. So I'm starting to kind of come out of the funk, as I understand that we're going to be in lockdown a much longer time than I think any of us had expected.
Yeah. It might be one of those things where you have to get into your funk and then get out the other side.
That's pretty much what's happened to happen now. Yeah. It's like, okay, so now I've got to I have to shape the creativity around this mental space that I'm in right now, you know, and work my way out.
Yeah.
For sure.
It seems like you were playing pretty regularly there for a while before this happened.
We were. I mean, we probably don't play as much as a lot of the other bands do. Most of the bandmates work full time, so it's difficult for us to play several times a week.
Right.
But I would say at the least, 3 to 4 times a month, we're playing out and loving it, simply loving it. I mean, it's like you go to your day job that you may not necessarily love, and then you have this release in the evening where you can be a rock star, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I watched some videos, and you definitely embraced the rock star.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a character. I always tell people there's a vast difference between the person and the persona. People may assume that, like, oh gosh, I bet you're like that all the time. It's not the case.
Well, you're relatively new to this.
Incredibly, yeah. I just got started. First live show I ever played was April 30th of 2017. So I'm in a way the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have guitars. I haven't changed strings in that long. I wanted to say something like that.
Yeah.
No, probably not. I'm a pretty intense string changer.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you're a great player.
No, not at all. It just means I don't like the dirty strings. Yeah, they get funky, especially on acoustic guitars. They stop shining as much, and I like a shiny acoustic guitar sound.
You like the brilliance
myself.
of the...
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't play the guitar. These are my babies, my fingernails, and so I've never even tried.
What made you, on April 30th, 2017, take the stage?
This all really happened by accident. It's kind of funny. I was hosting karaoke for several months before that date.
Where?
At the warehouse, at a little spot out in Garfield called the Watering Hole. I was doing relief work. I would go in if someone who was doing their regular spot couldn't necessarily fill in.
Right.
And I'm working full time at the Austin Humane Society, and I met a young lady there who came into my orientation, and she was completely blind. And she said, I want to volunteer with cats. I was like, hell yeah, you do. I love cats. Like, they're great people. Let me see what I can do. So I ended up hiring a mobility coach for her to help me make the modifications she would need. Found out that he was a drummer, asked him, hey, I like to sing. Anybody that needs backup vocals? He invited me to a jam along with a bassist and a guitarist. And the chemistry was so great between us, we decided we would start a project. So a good girlfriend of mine was booking a show for someone else who had kind of waited until the 11th hour to book that showcase. And boom, there was that first gig, and I thought, well, we better try this.
You had the gig before you had the thing together.
We started the thing in January.
Okay.
So we had kind of been rehearsing for a while, but like what we know not, just kind of picking some songs out of thin air that we might like to cover.
Right. Well, man, when did you sing with Ruthie Foster? Because that's pretty fast to go from.
Well, I know. No, it's insane. I mean, I didn't grow up singing either, so I played the violin as a youngster, and I never sang in church or anything like that. I didn't really know I had a voice. Ruthie Foster I feel like that was January of 2019, live at the Paramount. It was the #1 blues album for the week of my birthday, which was so cool.
How cool is that?
I know. Well, I've got great friends. Like, I have a lot of friends.
Yeah, you do.
on the scene, that have really just kind of helped to push me. They support my talent. They respect my ability, and they're willing to take a chance. Honestly, that's a lot of what this has been. It's just people willing to take a chance on me.
You must be a good person, though. You know what I mean? One solid person.
I think so. I mean, I'm honest. I'm humble in the sense that, like, I understand I'm coming into this in a world of people who have been doing this for decades. Some people have T-shirts older than I am that are playing. So it's like there's nothing left for me to do but be respectful and but be open to them opening their arms to me and just kind of like growing in that situation.
What's funny, I've done this, like, I'm 51 and I've been like playing in bands since I was 13. And
wow.
and like really trying to do it. And there's sometimes I'll be talking to someone, they'll be like, no, man, this person's only been doing it for like a year and a half or something. And my thing is always like, dude, if you've got it, you got it. Thank God you didn't have to spend years driving to like Kansas City for $75. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus, what a great, save yourself that trouble.
No, it's this has been, like I said, it was a complete accident. I never had any intention of starting this. So everything that has come of it has just kind of been amazing. And I'm so grateful for these opportunities to do my thing. I got to sing with Miss Lavelle's band, the L-Men, that very next year. I want to say it was in April. It was like a few days before my anniversary of playing out. So, I mean, I have had some opportunities that I understand a lot of people 10, 15 years in the industry haven't had. So I'm super grateful for every chance I get to do the things. Yeah.
But also, it doesn't mean you're less deserving. If you've got talent, you got talent, man. You got something to say. You got something to say.
It's hard to feel that way in Austin. It's a town that's so
a bunch of old people
saturated.
Like me doing everything.
Well, it's so incredibly saturated, and I really do feel like there is this attitude and understanding of you have to pay your dues. There isn't a lot of room necessarily for someone who just has raw talent to kind of come in and start taking over. A lot of venues, I think, are reluctant to bring in groups that don't have a lot of history. Even though they have talent, it's like, well, have you paid your dues?
Do you find that in your journey with booking Miss Mack and the Daddies?
I have really found that in the
journey.
What
do people say? Like, what do you haven't done it enough times?
I just don't get a call back. I don't get a call back. I mean, I don't, I send them the EPK with this information. Hey, I've toured in Spain. We've done this many shows. We've had a residency essentially since the first day we started at Skylark. I've had this opportunity to feature with Miss Lavelle, sing background vocals for Ruthie Foster, and sometimes that just isn't enough, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't get the emails back. I don't get an invitation to play.
Yeah.
I guess is
Yeah.
you know. So
So you toured in Spain?
I did. I went with Oscar for the Pueblos Blancos Music Fest, and he basically put a band together for me there in Spain, and I did like 30-minute sets on a 10-day excursion.
What
kind of
an
thing.
awesome thing.
I know. Tell me about it. Who am I? You know, like
You're Miss Mack. That's what's going on. That's what I'm starting to find out.
it's like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one thing.
That was this time last year.
Oh, that's, yeah. Boy, it sucks not getting to get up there and play, doesn't it?
Oh my God. I'm going crazy.
I'm going crazy too, man.
I mean, I'm honestly going crazy.
Have you done any live streaming stuff?
We haven't, and it's funny that you would ask, because I think we're going to do one next week. I have a show called Ladies Lounge that we do quarterly, and the next one was due to be this Thursday. And I hadn't removed the event because, in March, I never thought we'd be in quarantine this long. So it's like, oh, let me leave the event. Like, that one we'll actually do. So I think I'm going to do a virtual thing, postpone it until next week, and interview my bassist, kind of do a video stream so people can see us.
Yeah.
They haven't seen us in forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just time.
It is time. So that'll be your first one?
That'll be our first one. And I don't even know, I don't think that either of us will be playing. It'll be more of kind of an interview situation. Typically what it is I break down the 7-piece band into what I call my 3-piece suit. So that's the double bass and the electric guitar. And I dress.
Oh, no. So you said you play with your 3-piece suit, which is the double bass, the guitar.
And electric guitar, and then vocals.
Uh-huh.
And then what I do is I'll dress the set. I bring in an upholstered bench and host a guest. I'll usually have about 4 or 5 other female vocalists come in, and there's typically a topic of discussion. I think the last one we did was in February, and it was pretty close to Valentine's Day. So the topic of discussion was self-love.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So then they come up, they sing, and then I interview them a little bit. The guests I encourage to interact as well.
That's really cool. Where do you do those?
I do them at Skylark.
Yeah.
Actually, we do them at Skylark every quarter. And it was just a way, I realized that women wanted to connect, but it was really tough for them to be able to do show during the full band shows because it's just so high energy. So it was a way to kind of pare things down and give people an up close and personal kind of a connection with Miss Mack.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I miss doing it. I mean, we'll do it next week, and it'll be a little different than it has been before, but those are actually my favorite shows.
What issue do you think you'll be covering this week? I mean,
it was
Jesus
supposed
Christ.
to be. Yeah, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
I had already chosen like the issues at the beginning of the year because I just do it quarterly. So it's School of Thought is what it was supposed to be for August, kind of around this.
That's
like
not
back
bad.
to school kind of a thing. So I think it still fits, given that each of us probably have a much different school of thought around how anything is going these days.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm going to interview our bassist, Lauren, and she's probably going to kill me, like essentially soliciting from the support base to see what questions people want me to ask her. And
All right.
Yeah, we'll see how things go.
In your sort of like your purpose of playing music in your bio thing on Facebook, it says you're here to expose people to the joy and positive aspects of your existence as a Black woman.
Absolutely. I'm this massive Black woman. And typically speaking, like people associate anger with that. Just power and like a fortitude and a strength that they're not receptive to or willing to deal with. And so it's like, as Miss Mack, I'm still this giant, like really powerful, strong Black woman, but at the same time, I'm bringing joy. Like everything about the show is positive.
What about that historically is what makes people think that a big Black woman is angry?
I think a lot of it has to do with media and the way that Black women are portrayed. It's really, I guess it's a stereotype. It's a stereotypical kind of insight that people have into who Black women are. And you find these tropes in media that continue to reinforce that. It's even more difficult for people to abandon that idea. I think in general, as women, we aren't looked at as strength. And when you do have a woman who stands up for herself, is incredibly outspoken, is no nonsense, kind of unyielding, that in itself is an anomaly. And you know, so it's not difficult to associate anger or frustration with that woman when she comes in this form.
Yeah.
It's not true. None of it is true.
No, it's not true.
You know, not a single bit of it is true, but that is absolutely the assumption and the association that people have found. And so I'm just trying to, basically for me, the music is like my vehicle of expression of everything I wish I could be as a woman that I'm not allowed to be in my everyday life. And so it gets exacerbated and is really almost amplified in the character and on stage.
When you say that you don't get to be that person in your everyday life, what is that? Do you mean it in a bad way, or this is like
I mean, in the sense that, like, if I were as open, if I were as straightforward, if I were as no nonsense as the character Ms. Mack in my job or in other situations, like, I think it would cause a lot of trouble for me. I do. I think that people would not be receptive. It's almost like it's difficult to accept a woman who operates in every inch of space that she takes up and owns that space. You know what I mean? And makes no apologies for owning that space and who she is and what it is and what it's gonna be. You know, I would get into trouble at work if I were as strong as I am on stage. It might cause me some problems, is what I mean by that.
Sure.
And it has caused me some problems. You know, I've lost many a job just for being myself.
Being outspoken and
just
honest.
Being outspoken and honest and saying anything that you know, one of my white counterparts may say, but it's like, we can't accept that information coming from your mouth. You may be right, but it's difficult for me to accept that coming from you. And so we're going to stop that. You know, we're going to remove you from this environment, and then we don't have to continue to listen to it, even though it may be right.
Right. I
mean, I was raised, and one of the things my mom always said to me was, just because you're right doesn't mean you can always say that you're right.
And why is that?
That's the mindset. I really think it has a big part to do with her trying to protect me from an environment that was not designed for me to flourish in. You know, just because you know the answers does not mean that you should share them, because not everyone outside of you is going to be receptive to the fact that you know the answers. In fact, oftentimes it will make them uncomfortable because you know those answers.
I talked about this recently do you know Kate Priestley from KP and the Boom Boom?
I don't know her personally, but I certainly know who you're talking about. Yes.
We had this talk where her mom had a similar talk with her, which was like, don't blend in, don't stand out.
Don't be too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't never be too much. Yeah. It's something I think that we all learn. And there's, you know, it's twofold. It's one part of that is because we are women and the society does not deem us as important, and then the other part of it is because we're Black women. Right.
It's almost like a double whammy.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, but I mean that's the reality.
Right. I said when you were describing that sort of thing, I felt like just looking back to 4 years ago when we were in a situation where there was a woman running for president, it seemed like she could never raise her voice in any way. There's just like shit she could not do because, she was running against a dude that's just saying mean ass shit all the time to people. But and God forbid she says anything. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. She's got a vagina. Like, we can't trust that, like it has no merit. Our words have no merit. They have no worth. In a world that is completely dominated by males, the music is just a microcosm.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just a microcosm of what's happening on a much greater scale.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Newport News, Virginia. It's kind of the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area. And then my mother got remarried when I was a junior in high school. So we moved out to Wichita, Kansas. And that's where I finished high school and went to college at K-State.
That's it's K-State. That's in Wichita?
It's in Manhattan, Kansas. Yeah.
Okay.
So about 2 hours north of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I played at the university in Wichita, but that's that's KU?
WSU, Wichita State University.
Okay.
I bet.
I think so. I can't remember.
Their mascot is a wheat shock. You can't make this shit up. I don't know if that sounds familiar.
How was that moving? Like what kind of culture shock is that from Virginia to?
Massive,
yeah,
massive culture shock. I grew up on a military base, so I had seen a diverse range of people,
Sure.
From all different places. People that looked like me. It was much more common to see, it wasn't unusual for me to see other Black people, other Hispanic people, other Filipino people. Kansas, not so much. Incredible lack of diversity. My life is full of mistakes. I started the band by accident. I filled in the wrong bubble on my college entrance exam and accidentally got a degree in agriculture. So I mean, you can imagine, I've had a rough life. I have had a rough freaking life. Yeah. Who knew? I thought I wanted to be a vet. I waited to the last minute. I didn't really want to go to college. I fill out the sheet and it says pre-vag. And I said, well, that sounds like pre-vet. Like that must be what it is. And ended up in the stinking College of Agriculture. To this day, I mean, I have a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, Animal Science.
There was no
I worked on a pig farm.
There was.
Yeah. I went to France to work on a pig farm, and I was like, once I was in it, I was like, I'm doing it.
You went to France to work on a pig farm?
I went to France to study in Toulouse, and then I worked on a pig farm for a couple of months with a host family. Yeah. I speak French fluently, so I mean, it was like a thing, like what do they call that? Exchange student kind of a thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Semester abroad or something?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was it an organic pig farm? Do you still eat pork? That's the question.
Yeah, that is a good question. If someone else prepares it, yes. I'm not a big meat eater in general. Never was, even growing up. But when you work on a farm and you take an internship in a packing plant and you take an internship with a pharmaceutical company, you're a little less likely to eat that crap. It was organic from a standpoint of them not using a bunch of the chemicals like we do here. They had sheep as well, and so they would use the whey from their milk to feed the pigs. And they had this system where they had the food mixed in with the water and a computerized system to release it into the troughs several times a day to conserve water. They used citrus oils to kind of combat the odor in the nurseries. So I guess I would say it was organic.
Yeah. I just always, you hear about the sort of meat industry here as being this gigantic, disgusting thing that's destroying the earth. But they talk about other places in the world where people have like a more humane.
I didn't get to see the slaughtering process.
That's good.
Yeah, right. Because we were, this was more like kind of working on the nursery side, so inseminating sows, reviewing semen in a microscope. Like this. What'd you do this summer? Like, oh, like I looked at spermatozoa in a microscope to to see which doses were more potent and that we should refrigerate.
You weren't working in the execution side. You were working on the sexy side.
Exactly. Right? The sexier side. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's how I spent one summer.
When you went over there for the summer, what was there's obviously always been a less racist vibe in France.
Oh my God.
Because a lot of the jazz cats moved over there so that they could just fucking live without having to deal with. Yeah.
My goal is to move to the south of France. I mean, I would love to take the music over there, but I really did feel like race relations were 100 times better. I lived in a village of 100 people. There weren't a lot of people that looked like me, but I have never felt the level of comfort that I felt while living in France. I speak the language fluently, so I think people were less inclined to think of me as just some selfish, narcissistic American, like they tend to think of Americans.
Right. That's the bigotry and the bias you'd probably run up against more than being black there is just being American.
Anything. Yeah. More than anything. It's like, oh, you have no culture, like they look at us like dogs, like, ugh, what is with these people? But no, I honestly felt race relations were better. And my ultimate goal with the music is to find my way there and never come back. And that's no joke.
So that kind of answers what my next question was going to be is, in the wake of something like the murder of George Floyd, and I assume that obviously you're younger than me. I won't ask you your age because I don't ask ladies their ages. And I never tell. You don't seem like you lived through the civil rights movement. I didn't either.
Right.
But do you feel like in the wake of this and all of the protests and sort of like all of the conversation that has actually opened up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, I had a guy like James Robinson on my show a year and a half ago. Wonderful guy. He's the guy that introduced us.
Yes.
A guy that I love very much. I did a whole podcast with him and never broached the subject of any kind of race stuff because it didn't occur to me to. And also, as a white dude, you don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable for you to say it. But now it's like, hey, all this shit's on the table. I'll tell you what you want to know, but we got to change some shit.
We have to. And I think that the point that we're at now is everybody being aware and acknowledging that the inception of this country began with racism.
Yes.
It was founded upon that, and that was the belief that goodness was whiteness. And I think what we find ourselves in now is a greater number of people being aware, no matter how they look, right? People are aware. And so now what we're battling with is how do we acknowledge that? Because this is going to be embarrassing for a lot of people who have kind of unknowingly been doing things, saying things, and taking actions that help to continue to perpetuate that issue. That's the point that we're at now. It's like, okay, this is the reality. Everyone's aware of this reality. Now, how do we address that? It doesn't matter that you feel embarrassed. Like you're saying, you kind of had to tread lightly. Now it's like, okay, let's forget about feeling embarrassed. Let's just acknowledge what is exactly happening and that you are the only ones with the power to change what has been happening, given that we are on the receiving end of this issue. That's where we are.
Do you feel like there's been a legitimate awakening over the last couple of months? Or is it just me and my friends?
I mean, I've even had some friends who are starting to wake up and understand some things about experiences I was sharing with them 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
So I do think that there is an awakening. Do I think that it is a large enough awakening with the right people to make change? I can't say. I can't really say that. I know that there's still going to be those people who deny and who are so insecure about addressing the reality that they're never going to address it. But I understand that there's probably a greater number of people who are starting to really kind of open their eyes to what has happened and linking that back to the situations that they're having with their friends personally that they know and can kind of see those experiences firsthand. It's no longer just, oh, this is happening on a grand scale. It's happening in my backyard too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that they're starting to see. I can only hope.
Do you feel like, were you aware of what Jackie Venson did with the Blues on the Screen?
I followed the whole thing. Yeah, I saw, kind of when she proposed the idea,
right.
When, what's his name? Shiny Ribs backed out and, kind of, I shouldn't say backed out. I should say yielded, because they saw down. How important it was. Yeah, that was crucial.
It's very strange because I saw a Blues on the Green in 2017 that was Shiny Ribs with Jackie Venson opening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think it was hurtful, I think, for a lot of Black musicians to hear Andy say there aren't Black acts strong enough to be a headliner in this town. And it was like, that's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bold statement. It's an incredibly bold statement, and I don't think that it's true. It's a local event. I don't think there's any reason that we should not tout local artists and give them an environment in which to build themselves up to be a headlining act. How can you ever have the opportunity or be valued as a headlining act when you're not afforded the opportunities to play in these venues, like I mentioned before, to even get to that point?
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. Oof, my blood's boiling just thinking about it.
I know.
It's like, that was a bold statement. It was really bold.
It was bold. And Chaka just did another show on Thursday.
Black Everything Matters over at Empire.
Yep. The thing that I'm trying to get at is I've heard from different people different things like, oh, well, we need to have our own clubs. And then to me, because I'm a kid that's Sesame Street age, my whole Sesame Street upbringing and sort of like, fucking lofty liberal sort of, trippy, like, why can't we all just get along and be together?
Why can't we just do it together?
Obviously that hasn't worked for the last God knows how many years. So,
which is, it's insane. It's really hard to believe. I mean, you look at a lot of this music and a lot of it came from Black culture. All of it's based in Black culture. Why isn't there space for Black people?
And there's nothing against a Stevie Ray Vaughan or something like that, but that is a symbol of the fact that instead of the guy that invented that fucking music getting a statue, it's the white dude that played with Bowie that gets it. And I'm not belittling that man or anything he did on his own.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's a history. It's been that way since the beginning. It has been that way since the beginning. I am under the impression, though, I don't think that there need to be separate things. Do I think that some of the funds should be earmarked? Yes. If we're not going to distribute them equally and evenly, yes, I do. Then earmark those funds specifically for Black artists, and let's do that. If we can't come to some sort of a situation where we see that, oh, there is a percentage of them that aren't receiving these funds. But I think, too, we have to understand the demographic in Austin as a whole, and we have to look at the audiences that are going to these clubs and spending their money in these clubs. Do they feel comfortable with predominantly Black acts in these clubs? Are these venue owners making these decisions? Are these talent buyers making these decisions based on their audience and their audience's desires? You know what I mean? Is it a thing where it's like, well, I'm not going to get patronage if I bring in multiple Black acts? The music could be amazing. It could be great. It could be the same music that everything else has been appropriated from. But is that venue going to continue to be alive and well? Will people continue to come to that business? I think that's the reality, and that's what we really have to start talking about.
That's a really good question.
I think that they're doing it for the patrons. I don't think, you know what I mean? That's a part of it. I'm not saying that that's right, but I'm saying that's a big part of it. Their audiences aren't open to the idea of having a different looking band. Their level of comfort goes down remarkably. For what reason, I know not, but...
Yeah. There was someone I was talking to throughout this whole thing that said, have you ever seen an all-black band?
Even my band is mixed.
Yeah.
You know, even we're mixed. We're a mixed bag.
Not that
I
it
think we got
shouldn't...
a little bit of everything.
Right, but where are the all-black bands? You know, like there aren't a lot of them that you get to see if you're me. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, shit, I don't know. Trying to think. Cool in the Gang?
Oh, no, I meant here in Austin.
I know.
You know what's so funny is I'm in this band Skyrocket, and it's like a 7-person white cover band covering 70s and 80s stuff. And in April, we were supposed to back him up, the guy from Cool in the Gang.
Nice.
We had
got
learned
to open for
Celebration
them
and
in
some
February.
stuff. You did?
Yeah, at ACL Live, which was insane. Moody Theater, like biggest show we've done so far.
Dude, you get some bitchin' gigs.
I know.
What are you, friends with like Steve Moody? I don't even know who that is. I just made up a guy.
No. We it was one of those things where it happened like you read about it happens. Cherie Smith of Sugary Soul and the Cold Sweat had invited us because she got her residency back at Sea Boys to open for her. And we just happened to be there. And the senior talent buyer from ACL Live just happened to be there and exchanged contacts. And then this thing happened. I still have trouble believing that it happened. Because it's a pretty plum gig, like a bitchin' gig. It's a bitchin' gig.
It is a bitchin' gig, dude.
That's a bitchin' gig.
It's like the gigs yeah. Chappelle plays that stage. Radiohead plays that stage. Coldplay plays that stage. Rage Against the Machine.
Rage. I mean, yeah, we got to do that. We were those people for a day.
What an amazing thing being back there in those rooms and the lights around the mirrors, and you got your bathroom.
It was insane.
Yeah.
They fed us. I mean, it was just... And then the world shut down 2 weeks later.
Well, at least you got that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really grateful because I'm thinking, had that been scheduled any later, who's to say we would have had the opportunity to do it?
God, what a great thing.
We lucked out. Yeah.
So when you do those shows, sorry to jump back and forth, but this is I know that you do your own twist on classic soul things, songs, and also you write your own.
Correct.
When you do a show like that,
we did 2 covers, and the rest was original.
Right.
Because it was just the 45-minute set. Because we are so new and not a lot of people know us, I still think it was important to do at least the 2 covers so that there could be this kind of familiarity from a standpoint of I know this song and I kind of like this girl.
Here's where paying the dues comes in. You walked out onto that Moody Theater stage, which anybody listening has either been there if they're from here. If they're not from here, they've seen Austin City Limits over the last 10 years or whenever they've been filming it from there. You are a relatively new performer, and the skill of walking out to 2,500, 3,000 people that have no idea who in the world you are. You have one job: to make a gigantic, intimidating room full of people love you.
And it was just insane. That was the most nervous I think I have ever been.
Sure, man.
And we sold all but 2 T-shirts. It was just are you kidding me? How cool is this? People were buying buttons and they wanted to take photos afterward. A lot of people left nice comments on our Facebook page. It was really cool.
Was there that classic thing where you come out and it's kind of like a little bit of clapping and you're like, ugh. And then by the end of it, it's like,
If I'm going to be honest, I did not hear any of the applause until watching the videos back that like a girlfriend of mine put. I was in my own head. I mean, the stage is massive. We've never had that much space to move around. Usually we're like some tiny club and there's like a bass neck up my butt and like a drumstick in my back, you know. So that was one thing. And I wore this sequin dress. I never wear like real sequiny stuff. So it was just, everything about it was different from any other performance we've ever had. And it, afterwards, looking back at the takes, I was like, oh my God, were they singing along to that song? Like they really enjoyed that. It was surreal to see that, you know, to think like, holy crap, like we just got a chance to do this and people are into it.
Yeah. You got them on your side.
It was, that was a really good show. It was fun.
Isn't it funny with all of the playing that you do, and as cool as any kind of gig can be, when you go to like, you know, you might have nights on that Skylark stage that are transcendent. But
I'm not there.
And you might go to, and you play all those places and you do all the things, but you play one gig at Moody Theater and you're like, okay, I'm ready for just this to be it. Like, I just want to play places exactly like this all the time.
No doubt. It's like, if I could always have a green room.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be perfect. And it's funny because like the next week, so we played that show the 29th of February. And then the next week, the following Saturday, we were at Seaboys playing a gig, you know, it's just like back to life, back to reality.
You know, I'm glad that you said that. That exact, I had these gigs. I played in this band called Endosheen that was from here in the early 2000s. And I was just kind of like an auxiliary guy. And we had a week, maybe not even a whole week, maybe like 4 days of shows in Houston during that Super Bowl where Janet let the nip slip.
Oh my God.
It was that long ago. Okay. So we were playing like this thing called the Bud Bowl or whatever.
Okay.
So one of them was in front of 10,000 people at the baseball stadium.
God.
One of them was a duo acoustic show playing after a puppet show in an attic thing somewhere.
I love puppets.
And others,
I probably would have been into that one.
I mean, it was just like there was no norm. We were riding out to golf carts in that Minute Maid Stadium with like jumbotrons and people screaming, and we were, stepping over people sitting on a floor at a puppet show as well.
I think you have to stay humble. You just have to stay humble. You have to know that there isn't a normal. Like when that time comes, that time will come. But yeah, you got to be willing to do everything and anything in between, I think, until you get to that point where that's all that you have. You know, those are the only kind of shows you're doing. Would that be my preference? Hell yeah. Anytime I can be several feet away from the people that are enjoying the show, I'm going to be much happier.
But there's dudes, I mean, you know, I guess it takes all kinds of things. There's dudes like Prince that, you know, he would go play an arena to 20,000 people, jump in a car, and go to a club and play for 3 hours, working it out, whatever it was he was
do
working
the things,
out.
Like wherever you are. I think for me, the thing that I enjoyed most was being that far away from everyone.
Yeah.
Like having an opportunity to kind of be in my own space.
Yeah.
Because really weird things happen at club gigs. I mean, that's just the facts, folks. These are the facts. I've had people come on stage, try to put a hand up a skirt.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just kind of the crazy stuff because of the proximity. It's like they're so close and they become so overwhelmed. They forget all sense and sensibility. And it's like, I'm enjoying her skirt. I really want to know what's on the other side of that. I'm gonna try it now. Just, you know, like
such an odd choice to make.
There's no time like the present. I'm gonna check right now. So yeah, that was the thing that I really loved about Moody. It's just like, man, we've got space.
Yeah,
we got some room to roam. You know.
So you're making a record.
We are.
You got to make a record.
January. What's that?
You got to make a record.
Well, here's the thing. We had no idea COVID was coming. We had this huge plan,
You didn't?
you know.
I did.
We-
I knew back in like September. No, I'm just joking.
We had no clue. Things were really starting to kind of pick up, and we were starting to get this momentum. And so we had this whole plan. Of course, we knew about the Cool and the Gang show much sooner than we shared with everyone. So we were like, okay, let's start recording in January. We'll finish it. By the time that show has ended, we'll kind of continue to use that press and all of the activity going on our page, and we'll be finished with the EP. We'll release it. We'll start to service that record. We'll start applying to some festivals and try to see if we can't stretch our legs out a little bit.
Yeah.
COVID hit, and we just haven't had an opportunity to get back into the studio, obviously, because the studio is not open to us. We touted kind of with the idea and played and toyed with, well, if only two of us come to finish this part, maybe we could do that. The engineer didn't really feel comfortable, and I've got to respect that. We have to respect that.
Sure.
So we're just kind of playing this hurry and wait game, and in the interim, continuing to build demos. So the band itself is still remote from one another, with the exception of our horn section. They get together to kind of track things. My bassist came to set up the interface for me because I am the least technologically savvy of the entire group. But we're just kind of doing multi-tracks, and we throw them into this drive and put them together and have these demos that we're working on until we can get back together, with the hope that maybe that's the second album. Who's to say?
Who's to say? Be a good time to work, have your second album at least written now.
That's the thing, I think.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to not have to compete with having to go to the day job and then having to perform and then having to carve off a tiny sliver of the energy that you have left to be creative and have the time to do that. So,
are things okay, if you don't mind me asking, day job wise, are things okay at the Humane Society? Is it tough getting money and making sure that the funds are flowing through?
They changed some things with the budget. In fact, we've actually had more adoptions
right
now than we had prior. I think people are looking for a pet and have the time. They're being really creative. Our development team, God bless them, is being really creative with a lot of the things that they're doing to continue to engage donors. I mentioned that virtual trivia before.
Right.
That's one of the things. All of the summer programming for children was virtual this year. I had the privilege, I guess you'll say, of reading some books to children online. Watching those videos back, it's like, oof, yeah, I'm glad they're children. They're not going to judge that I didn't have lipstick on in this photo or this video. But they're coming up with some really creative ways to kind of engage the community and really be more mindful of how we manage the budget, given that less is coming in than would be if we were open to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
I don't envy them. I do the volunteer coordination. So I don't envy them. And I've got there's a really, 1% of my volunteer body is active right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because, I can't have people in the building, I can't have them there. So, but the dogs still need to be walked and cared for, and the cats still need to be socialized. So we're trying to work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have pets?
I have one cat who is 19 years old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I've had her that long. I've had her since I picked her up at a shelter in college as like some scraggly cat. I went looking for a dog. This cat looked at me. I kind of got guilted into it, and we've been together ever since.
That's awesome.
I'm surprised she hasn't come up to ask me. Like, usually she'll come up when I'm on a Zoom call and be like, I think I actually want canned food right now.
Yeah, exactly. I know you're on a call.
Yeah. I'm surprised she hasn't come up.
A month ago, I had to put my 14-year-old dog down after having him since he was like 4 months old.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, did I freeze? What'd you do? You there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was... Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what, back to the conversation about what's happening racially, do you feel like there has been momentum and movement in the right direction in the last couple of months? And do you think what do you think it's going to take to keep that momentum up?
That's a really good question. I don't know how I would measure that. You know what I mean? I don't know. The only way I would have to measure it, I guess, would be like the level of social activity I'm seeing on different social media platforms with regard to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be honest, I feel like I see the momentum. Yes, I do think there's a greater momentum, but I feel like I see it starting to turn into the direction of not necessarily Black Lives Matter, but Black Lives are marketable. It's kind of what it's looking like to me.
I mean, in a capitalist society that we live in, it
has no choice but to turn into that,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So
Sadly.
it's like, you have these companies who have been historically racist and have not had any sensitivity around their marketing strategies or commercials or even their mission and what they believe in, kind of piggybacking on this. Holy shit, this is a hot topic right now. We better jump in and change our red lamps to black lamps and, say Black Lives Matter, like that we're on board. And really it's just this kind of exploitative way to get more funding because people are sensitive to it right now. So that's my biggest fear of how I see the momentum moving. Like, does it just turn into Black Lives marketing? Where they still don't necessarily matter, but it's like it is so beneficial to our marketing, we can't help but say that they do.
Yeah.
That's what I see. That's what I see happening.
America's so weird.
It is very, 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 very strange. I don't know. I say abolish the TV and then we'll be okay. I have lived without television for 20 years and I feel like it's made a remarkable difference in my life. Like,
you haven't watched stuff during this?
I can't. I just cannot. I can't. I don't. I can't. I won't. I haven't. I physically do not own a television.
That's
I don't
amazing.
own one. I don't have a Netflix account. I don't do Hulu. I don't have any accounts for any of that.
I like that you qualify because there's people that tell me like, oh, I don't watch television, and then they're like, oh yeah, I watched like 16 hours of this show yesterday on Netflix, and I'm like, that's
Nope.
television, right?
Nope, I don't even have a Netflix account. Like, I legitimately don't have an account. I have zero interest in watching television.
Were you always like that?
I think I probably stopped. I wasn't ever really heavy into it. I never really watched it a lot as a child. My mother was kind of structured in that way where I would have a specific amount of time I could watch television and certain things that she approved.
Right.
As I got older in high school, I became more active, started working and playing sports.
Yeah.
So I just didn't have the interest. So I'd say I probably stopped really watching television as a sophomore in high school. And then when I made the decision to move to college, I simply did not take one or did not buy one. And I have not purchased one since. I mean, I don't understand how to operate them. They've changed a lot in 20 years.
Yeah, they have.
I babysat for a friend once and she's like, yeah, just kind of throw this thing on for the girls. And it was like, I'm embarrassed and ashamed to ask you this, but I don't know how to turn the TV on.
It's
I don't know
cool.
how to select these things that you're telling me to look for. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm a cave woman, I guess.
Yeah.
Living in modern times.
Yeah.
With no idea how to operate modern technology.
Do you feel like that gives you some kind of calm?
I feel like I have a much more positive and better attitude not looking at TV. My thing with media and that form of media is like, I have never had a desire to watch someone else's depiction of the reality. That's their fantasy. I can live that. So I just live. If you read, you can kind of create this fantasy in your own mind of the imagery that you're seeing from what you're reading. Television doesn't give you the opportunity to do that. You're seeing it as someone created it.
It's like a pacifier in some ways.
Yeah, and I'm just not into it.
Yeah.
You have to stay seated. you have to be still.
Yeah.
I just feel like it captures you, you know?
Yeah.
And even still, like if I go to a bar or I'll go somewhere where there is a TV that's on, I'm usually like, I'm drawn to it because I'm not in the habit of looking at it. So it's like, it's almost like a child.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, like I'm amazed by TV.
Yeah. I had this guy I used to write songs with a long time ago, and I remember him, he was a very anti-TV guy, and he was saying, he's like, you can see it in a little kid, like you can get a kid that's 4 years old or 5 years old, and they're playing, and their imagination is just going in all these places, and just like really creating and figuring things out, and then you put them in front of a TV, and that just like immediately ceases, and they're almost like drooling, and then they can't get enough. They're like, I gotta sit in front of the thing, but I do that too. So,
I mean, that's how it makes me feel. I mean, I hate it because it's like I'm fixated, and I'm like looking at all the colors and the movement and the shapes. It's like this amazing thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's so amazing. I will listen. Like I'll throw something on YouTube and listen to it while I'm doing some graphic design or doing something else on the computer, but I don't watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you listen to? What are you listening to musically nowadays?
I've probably been listening to the same playlist since 1999.
Well, what's on that playlist? Is it, I mean, because I saw you covering, like, If You Want Me to Stay. Are you like a Sly lady?
I dig the Sly. I dig my favorite band of all time. Can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say this. It's Jamiroquai.
Oh, yeah.
I love Jamiroquai. It feels like Earth, Wind, and Fire and Stevie Wonder had a baby, and just this beautiful thing came out of it. Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Oh, God. Yes.
Love. Minahan Street Band, Charles Bradley, Lee Fields, Donny Hathaway. Like, that's my favorite voice.
Yeah, oh my God.
Of all
Do you have that Donny Hathaway, Roberta Flack record?
I don't. Well, I don't have the record, but I mean, I've got.
You got Spotify or something. Yeah,
I can stream it. Yeah, for now. Oh my God, love. I love his voice. It brings me to tears.
Oh, me too.
Stevie, James Brown, of course.
I just watched. Oh, here I go. I just watched Mr. Dynamite, that documentary, over the weekend.
See, maybe that's something I could get into. Like every now and then, like a documentary, I don't think would be so bad.
Dude, there's so many of them out there. It might blow your fucking mind. Like, there are so many out there that you might end up like me, like lost in something.
I think I would probably have a heart attack if I went and purchased a TV and tried to consume.
If you ever do that, that would be a fucking awesome like short film. Like watching you deal with it.
Seriously,
you know what I mean?
Like what this is, and
deal with how
even
complicated it is, and then deal with how much is at your disposal at this point. Because, 1999 TV is nothing like today.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
it's almost like being in jail. Like I think about people that go to jail and they're locked up for so long, and they get out and they haven't seen this stuff. Like, what even is this?
There's a great scene like that in 48 Hours when Eddie Murphy comes out. Yeah.
Like, fucking, what am I seeing here? Like, I don't even know, dude. I don't even know, man.
So when you write with your band?
I kind of, sort of. So, we kind of break it into, again, the 3-piece suit is where the writing kind of starts.
That.
Like, I'll write something and then I'll sing the melody to it, send it out, and then they'll kind of build some stuff up. I'll be honest, even though I played the violin, I don't have a really thorough understanding of music theory. I don't read music. I never read music, even when I played the violin.
Yeah.
I hear it and I can understand it. Like I know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
The songwriting is definitely something I'm working on. That is not my strength when it comes to this like whole package. That's probably the weakest area for me is the songwriting because it's all so new.
Yeah. Well, man,
Yeah.
if you ever need any help with that, I know it's weird. I really like you. Like just this last hour
Oh.
and whatever, like 10 minutes we spent on the phone last week. I'm like, I
Yeah.
really like you, and I think you're really talented. And if you ever want some songwriting help, I write a lot of songs.
I would love the help. That's the one thing. Like I've never been. I will take full advantage of like all the skills of people around me. Like even with the band, I hire to my weaknesses. So where I'm weak, they're strong, and like when we come together, we have this beautiful collective. So I love the idea of someone who's like, hell yeah, like I'm a great songwriter, and I would help you. Yes, please.
Did I say I'm a great songwriter when I said that?
You didn't have to say it. I mean, you didn't even have to say it. I have a feeling. I have a feeling. I can feel it. I wouldn't even say yet that I'm a songwriter. I remember saying like I'm a singer, and then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm a vocalist.
Right.
Like I can say that. Like I have a different attitude about it now. Like I'm a vocalist. I would say I'm a novice songwriter, if at all.
Yeah.
Something I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to understand and get better at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm sorry that I'd never seen you or even heard your. Yeah, we live in disparate. Hopefully, that's the thing that'll change with all of this, at least on a local level, is that there'll be some
Visibility.
kind of thing where you and I will do a show together one day. Our bands will play together or something, or
That would be neat.
yeah,
That would be neat.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
just
we
be
don't, like I
a
said-
bunch of other old white dudes in rock bands, like
We don't play a lot of shows in general, and it has been hard being the new kid on the block to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some people who take me out really seriously, obviously serious enough to say, yes, can you open up for Kool and the Gang? But then there's the other side that's like, I don't even, like, who is this kid? That's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a band? Oh, that's fucking adorable. Yeah, right. Oh, okay, you got a band. That's real cute.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. I think that we're going to get there. I hope that everybody who's been working hard gets the visibility that they desire and that they've been working to get,
Yeah.
I hope that that's what comes out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see Austin, from a standpoint of the music scene, be this very merit-based place where those who have the talent get the opportunities. Yeah, I'm just going to say, I'm not even going to say any more to
Yeah.
that. I would love to see it be, I would love to see the music scene be merit-based, where your talent is what drives whether or not you flourish.
Yeah, I have to say that in Austin, against other scenes that are big, that still is kind of like the thing here. It does have its clicks.
Who you know.
Well, not just who you know, but also like there is sort of like if you're good. There's a thing John D. Graham told me once. He was like, you know how you have to be at least this tall to ride the ride?
Yes.
He was like, you have to be at least this good to do the thing here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I hope that it changes like that. Were you the one that came up with the "If you can dance to our rhythm, why can't you understand our blues"?
I actually saw that on Twitter several years ago, and it just blew my freaking mind.
It blew
And so
mine
I had
too.
to share that again.
Do you mind if I use that as the title of this episode?
I don't, man, because that's the serious damn question.
Yeah,
It really is, and I think we've covered that.
Yeah.
like from appropriation
That's what
to
I thought.
perception. To,
Yeah.
I think it works well.
yeah.
I really do.
Well, Miss Mack,
'Cause
I've enjoyed our conversation immensely. I've enjoyed
You
the
bet.
live videos I've seen from you. I'm excited to hear Miss Mack and the Daddies album. Do you know what it's going to be called?
Daddy issues.
You're kidding me. That's amazing.
I couldn't help myself. That's the title track. So it's like, it's gotta be. I feel like the next one after this will be what is it I'm gonna do? Paternity Suit, and then there will be Joint Custody would be the third album. Like release them as
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like a series.
Sure. Sure.
You gotta stick with the it's all branding. But I mean,
Yeah.
I knew people would ask me, you named your band The Daddies, are there daddy issues? It's like, I can show you better than I can tell you.
Yeah. Didn't Kanye do that with his first 3 records?
I don't know. Did he do like a?
There was like a college and then graduation and stuff like
and
that.
Then drop out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where my mind goes. I don't know if it'll actually work, but I think it would just be kind of clever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you have great ideas, and it's been really great talking to you. And
I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. I'm very grateful to James Robinson for hooking us up.
Yeah.
And it's just been a great talk. Hopefully, we'll talk again soon.
You bet. I'm sorry about the tech issues. I'm glad we were able to finally
okay.
resolve it, though.
Yeah. Exposing people to the joyful and positive aspects of her existence as a black woman. That was Miss Mack. What a great conversation. You can find Miss Mack and Miss Mack and the Daddies at Mack Daddy Music on Instagram and Facebook. They'll have music coming out hopefully sometime soon. She said she was working on it. I really enjoyed talking to her. What a fantastic person. Great singer. Go out there, check it out, man. She's a very, very talented woman and a very cool woman. Miss Mack. All right. And hey, while you're out there checking out Miss Mack on Facebook and Instagram, don't forget that you can follow us on our Facebook page. How did I get here? Yeah, you can keep up with the show. Also, engagement is our currency. So I'm going to ask you guys to please, if you are a fan of Miss Mack and you enjoyed this show, if you want to follow the podcast, you can follow us on whatever medium you listen to us on: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Google Podcasts, the Podbean app. Anyway, get following us there. If you like a show, share it. Let us know you're listening. Leave a comment. If you're a fan of Miss Mack and you want to see her do well, put some stuff out there for her. Share her stuff. Share our stuff. How did I get here? All right. I want to thank Miss Mack for taking the time to talk to me. It was really, really great getting to know her. She's a very talented woman, and that was a great conversation. I hope you have a great day, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.